Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Charity Village webinar. We will just wait a moment for everyone to join the session. Okay, we will get started. Welcome to today's Charity Village webinar. My name is Mercedes, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Specialist with Charity Village. As we are gathering here in a virtual platform, it is important to acknowledge that each of us is joining this webinar from the ancestral or unceded lands of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nation people. As a settler on this land, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe, which includes the Ojibwe of Fort William First Nation. For those who may be joining a Charity Village webinar for the first time, Charity Village is Canada's largest online job board for the nonprofit sector. In addition to our online job board, organizations can also post volunteer positions. So if you were looking for work or to recruit talent in the sector, Charity Village is a great place to start. We also have a ton of excellent resources for nonprofit professionals, including online courses, articles, fundraising tools, and free webinars like the one we are presenting today. Before we start today's webinar, I would like to quickly run through some housekeeping items. You may have noticed when you joined the webinar that you were automatically put on mute. Since we have hundreds of participants in today's session, it is important for us to minimize the amount of background noise so that everyone can clearly hear the presentation. But you can still ask questions and make comments using the question box at the bottom of the Zoom control panel. Look for that at the bottom of your screen. We will be taking questions at the end of the webinar, so please submit your questions as you think of them, and we will do our best to get to as many as possible. You can also email your questions to webinars@charityvillage.com. If you happen to encounter any technical issues with the webinar, whether with viewing the presentation or with the audio, please let us know in the question box or by sending us an email. We will do our best to get any technical difficulties resolved as quickly as possible. But in a worst case scenario, please remember that we are recording today's webinar and we will send you the full recording by email tomorrow. So if you get called away or disconnected, you will still be able to view the full presentation. And with that, I'd like to welcome our presenter for today, Najeeb Kassam, the founder and CEO of Keela. Welcome.
Thanks so much, folks. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I guess meet you. I can't even see you, which is difficult, so I apologize in advance. Before I jump in, I wanted to acknowledge that all of us here today, a lot of Keela's employees are located across Canada and live on the ancestral and unceded territories of many Indigenous people. And we give thanks for their generosity, hospitality, and stewardship of these lands and waters. I also want to apologize. My kids are sick and my wife is sick, and I think it's about to hit me. So I apologize if I sound a little bit more tired than normal and my energy isn't quite as high as it normally is. I promise I'm really excited to be here and grateful for the opportunity. A quick introduction. My name's Najeeb. I'm a husband, a proud Canadian, a recovering corporate lawyer, and the father to two wonderful kids. I've spent more than 30 years working in and around the nonprofit sector, and I'm passionate, bordering on obsessive, with supporting fundraisers in their work every day. When I'm not presenting to a wonderful group of people that I can't see, I serve as the CEO of Keela, a powerful fundraiser-centric donor management software that empowers folks just like you to raise more money and do more good by centralizing and operationalizing data. At nights and on the weekends, when I'm not changing diapers and dropping kids to school, I serve on the board of directors of 4 or 5 different nonprofits, including N10 and the Better Canada Institute, which is a national public policy institute working to ensure all Canadians can learn about and contribute to public policy across this great country. It's great to be here, and I look forward to digging into this very exciting topic with all of you today. My main goal of today is for you to leave here with a better understanding of artificial intelligence and how it can benefit your fundraising efforts. We're going to start today by looking at what AI means for organizations, the key benefits and considerations to think about when starting to adopt AI into your fundraising practices. We'll then get into some AI tools that exist and can be used for fundraising, and we'll finish with a Q&A. Please don't be shy to ask questions. Please don't be shy to dig in, because I think my favorite part of these conversations is the chats and the ability to answer the questions that are burning at the top of people's minds. So please share those questions in the Q&A box and somebody will help facilitate them. I want to start today by first exploring the relationship between AI and fundraising, which is actually a journey which we've been on at Keela for many years. We've actually put AI in our tools, many of which I'm sure you folks use. Many of you folks, I'm sure, use Keela. We've actually had it for like 3, 4, might even be 5 years at this point. And when we started, people thought we were crazy. We were crazy. But I have long believed, and I continue to believe today, that it is an opportunity, if used in the right way, to empower our sector. So much so that I'm one of the charter leaders of fundraising.ai, which is a fundraising collective of thousands and thousands of folks from across the world that is kind of digging into the applicability, the ethics, all that good stuff around using artificial intelligence in fundraising. And I encourage all of you to check out our website, fundraising.ai. Keela is proud to support that, and I'm personally proud to support it as well. And AI is changing the world, but that change is also affecting our donors. The circumstances of our donors are changing, and traditional giving patterns are on the move. In fact, we are in the midst of the largest transfer of wealth in human history, with $30 trillion being passed down over the next 3-4 decades. As baby boomers age out, a large part of their inheritance is going to their children, many of whom are in their 30s, 40s, I guess 20s too, now. These are your current and future donors. And they engage with giving and they engage with technology in a completely different way. And we need to be able to leverage as much of the technology as we can to most effectively steward these donors to support us not only on a one-time basis, but also for many, many years to come. But change isn't limited just to our donor bases. Technology is exploding. 15 years ago, which doesn't seem very long ago, most nonprofits were just getting their first donation pages online. That was a big step for folks. Looking back, you probably can't imagine operating without those donation pages now. This is the direction that AI is heading, and it's going to become more and more common to the point that we don't know how we lived without it, just like the donation page. There are even ways right now that you're using AI in your daily life, and you may not even realize it. On a daily basis, algorithms and AI are informing our choices, whether we know it or not. From what we see in our social media feeds, to the driving directions we get from our smartphones, to the TV shows that are suggested to us on Netflix, AI is a part of our life. And it's going to continue to be so, regardless of whether we want it to be. And for fundraisers, and I strongly believe this, if we don't adopt the power and incredible potential of artificial intelligence, our organizations are going to be left behind, or at least fundraising with a disadvantage. Let's think back for a second. What do you think happened to nonprofits that resisted the internet? And don't pretend like there weren't many, many of them. I remember reading a headline that said, "The internet is a fad." Can you imagine? Some of these organizations that resisted gave in and had to scramble to build online brands, online donation pages, etc. Others stayed stubborn and honestly probably faded into oblivion. That's what brings us to what we're going to talk about today. This is not going to be a crazy science lecture. I'm a lawyer, for God's sakes. But our goal today is to help you understand some of the concepts behind AI and fundraising, just a little bit better than you currently do, and show you a few of the ways that it can support each of you in your work. So let's get started by first defining exactly what we mean when we talk about AI and machine learning. And again, I am a student of this, but I'm a very poor student, a D student maybe. And so what I'm trying to do is get you a context here, not give you a very deep scientific definition. Artificial intelligence, or AI as we commonly know it, is the ability for a computer to perform tasks that would typically require human intelligence and cognition. It is the process of using a computer to automate tasks previously only done by human beings. While AI is a broad term to describe the computer algorithms automating all this stuff, this functions, this tasks, the underlying process that we use in our work at Keela for predictions and insights is called machine learning. Machine learning is a subfield of artificial intelligence and is defined as the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. Machine learning enables AI-powered systems to perform complex tasks in a way to how humans solve problems. Through machine learning, computers can find trends that would have otherwise gone unnoticed. But the interesting thing is, as they find more trends, as they process more data, these machine learning algorithms learn. They're a machine that learns and get better at making these predictions with every single interaction. So, how do AI-powered systems work? And what exactly do they mean for fundraising? Well, I like to use this example. When you look at a single donor's profile in whatever CRM you're using, and for the sake of this example, we used Keela, you, as a human, can probably make a pretty quick decision on what to do with that individual donor. I know where they're from, I know which campaigns they've partaken in the past, I know their donation history if I can find it quickly. And by looking at that one record, you can probably determine what you should say, maybe what amount you could ask for, or what campaigns you might invite them to participate in. Machine learning emulates this ability to do this on a much larger scale, with data points at a magnitude we simply cannot imagine. It takes what you as a human interpret from that one record and presents that information to you for every single donor in your database within seconds or maybe minutes. The machine is able to make predictions for thousands of donors while analyzing millions of data points in the process. With this, for example, it can predict donor behavior and even how you may respond to your appeals. Like I said, machine learning models get smarter over time, both by making predictions and learning simultaneously. Meaning, the more information that you use as inputs, the more accurate the outputs of machine learning, and they'll get more and more accurate over time. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't have millions of data points. But the truth is, you actually probably do. Because every time somebody clicks on an email, a newsletter, and you get that, that's a piece of data. Every date they make a donation, every campaign, every fund or impact area, every piece of demographic information, their address, each of these is a single data point. And on aggregate, for a donation database of 1 or 5 or 10,000 different donors, you're going to have hundreds of thousands or even millions of data points. And this is why this kind of technology is so powerful. Now, you've got a bit more understanding of how AI and machine learning work. Let's dive into some benefits for all of us as fundraisers. First, as we mentioned, AI systems predict donor behavior. They do this by analyzing all your historical data to find giving patterns and trends among common donor types, such as recurring donors, major donors, or even the golden ticket, in my opinion, lapsed donors. Once an AI-powered model has determined what similarities these donor groups share, it can analyze your entire donor database to uncover donors or prospects with similar patterns or trends in their donations and interactions history. By doing this, these models can surface opportunities you may never know have existed within your data and show you, for example, who you should be focusing your appeals on, who has the highest potential to become a recurring donor, or who is in danger of lapsing, so you can intervene and add that powerful and personal touch to change the course of their donor history. Second, AI-powered systems can can increase efficiency and streamline processes. These tools can almost be seen like assistants, a partner, not here to take over your work, but support, empower, assist, and make you feel a little less stressed out. These assistants can be trained to automate everyday tasks that normally take fundraisers hours or even days to complete. Through this automation, repetitive tasks like data collection, donor analysis, prospect research, or even personalized drafts of donor communications can be completed in a matter of seconds. While not only saving time for your team, this can also vastly reduce the human error associated with some of these repetitive tasks. And it standardizes the format in which an organization's data is analyzed and articulated within their systems. And of course, personalized communication is where tools like ChatGPT can come in. If you haven't used ChatGPT, you have likely heard of it. We're going to dive into it a little bit deeper later. But if you haven't, check it out. ChatGPT is an AI tool that almost acts like a virtual assistant. Depending on the prompts you enter, it can deliver information about what you're asking for. It can even write fundraising appeals, blogs, build an operations strategy, give ideas or creative tips for fundraisers, and pretty much anything you want. But there's more on this coming shortly, so don't worry. Now, I want to get right ahead of it and say, I acknowledge some of the hesitation that comes around innovative tools like these. And there's definitely a fear of replacing that human touch. I want to make it categorically clear, nothing, no piece of technology, and I build tech, well, not me, our team builds technology for a living, but no technology can replace the human touch in fundraising. At its core, fundraising is about relationships. It's about community. It's about the people ultimately wanting to do good things in their lives. And these tools can help you as fundraisers get the most out of those processes. AI should not be replacing anyone. Instead, it can and should minimize some of the administrative burden that's taking away your team's attention from things that technology can't do. Technology can't host stewardship events. Technology can't meet donors face to face. And technology can't really do any other activity that strengthens the relationship between your donors and your organization. Now, through the use of predictive analytics within database, AI can also facilitate the cultivation of strong donor relationships by helping you prioritize donor stewardship. This kind of technology works by uncovering engaged donors or donors likely to give to specific appeals that a fundraiser may otherwise miss. Remember, we talked about those giant sets of data. This kind of tech enables us all to make more informed, more data-driven decisions when deciding who to speak to and when and who could use a little extra love to prevent them from lapsing, for example. Ultimately, AI helps take some, not all, but some of the guesswork out of fundraising and enables fundraisers to spend time speaking to the right donors, focusing on campaigns, writing appeals, and targeting those most likely to give. Lastly, AI can actually help optimize donor engagement. Not only can AI help you identify your most engaged donors, it can also help you optimize your engagement with these donors when you do reach out. AI can predict things like how much a donor is likely to give, the best way to reach out, and even what time of day to best engage with donors. Now, all of the benefits sound great, but there are some considerations to keep in mind before you dive headfirst into the world of AI. Before using AI, you should carefully consider the ethical implications. This includes ensuring that the AI systems you're interested in are designed and implemented in a way that aligns with your organization's mission and values, that they respect privacy, they respect data protection, that they work to avoid bias or discrimination, and that they maintain transparency and accountability. I'll mention ChatGPT again here. When you type anything into ChatGPT, you're also helping it learn. Meaning, if you enter confidential information about your donors, the system will learn that, retain it, and possibly provide it to someone else. To be clear, they won't give people's names, but they're going to use the data to help to build the trillions of points of data that they use to build their algorithms. ChatGPT is an amazing resource for writing emails, social posts, looking for ideas, but you should exercise caution if you plan to use it for anything that involves private or proprietary information, such as prospect research, for example. To me, ChatGPT is a great first draft tool, something to get that writer's block out of you. And that's how people on my team, and even sometimes I, use the tool. A second consideration is around the quality of data and the availability of data. AI systems heavily rely on data for training and decision-making. That means that you should evaluate the quality and availability of the data you have or need to collect to effectively utilize AI. Now, I don't want you to think that your data needs to be perfect, because perfect data doesn't exist. But the more reliable that your data is, the better the outcomes of using AI will be. Imagine an organization that aims to engage a large number of donors for a fundraising campaign. They decide to implement an AI-powered donor engagement platform. The AI system uses data from various sources, such as social media, past donation history, and website interactions, to potentially identify potential donors and tailor personalized communication strategies. In this scenario, considering data quality and availability becomes crucial. The organization must ensure that the data collected from its donors is accurate, as up to date as possible, and relevant. It's essential to clean and validate the data regularly to avoid sending communications to incorrect addresses or outdated contexts. In our tool at Keela, we have a dedupe tool. You can also use things like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets for this. Additionally, organizations should evaluate the availability of data from different channels to make sure you have a comprehensive view of each donor's preference and engagement patterns. Having sufficient data from various sources will enable the AI systems to create meaningful interactions and identify the most effective engagement strategies for each donor. By addressing data quality and availability, organizations can maximize the efficacy of their AI-powered donor engagement platforms. The system can then provide personalized and timely suggestions, foster strong communications with donors, and ultimately increase fundraising success for a fundraiser's vital initiatives. Now, I want to say data is a process, and something that, on the boards that I sit on, we always say, what's the data cleanup we're going to do this quarter? And we set quarter by quarter basis goals, to try to make our data cleaner and better all the time. We work data cleanliness because we understand the power of data-driven decisions into our daily, our weekly, and our monthly work. So it doesn't feel like it's a project all at once. It's incrementally making it better over and over again. The third consideration we got to talk about is around transparency and explainability. As a fundraiser, I imagine that you try to be as transparent as possible with your donors. And I believe that's an important way to build trust. This also applies for using AI, especially when the decisions made by AI tools could come with consequences. It's important to have a general understanding of how whatever AI you are using delivers results, and be prepared to provide explanations, if asked, to your stakeholders. This is where picking partners and technology tools that you trust, whose values align with yours, is so important. Another consideration to consider is risk management. It's important for fundraisers to identify and mitigate potential risks associated with AI implementation. This includes addressing issues such as data security, privacy breaches, unintended consequences, algorithmic bias, and the impact on human workers or beneficiaries. Now, I'm not trying to scare you here. I'm trying to give you a broad overview of things to consider. AI systems used in fundraising often process large amount of sensitive donor information, such as names, addresses, giving history, personal details, etc. This data helps organizations understand donor behavior and preferences, personalize fundraising campaign, and optimize strategy. However, there is the possible risk from less than perfect actors. To ensure data security when using AI for fundraising, organizations should work to implement robust access controls and authentication systems to limit access to authorized people only, regularly monitor and audit the AI systems and data infrastructure for potential security breaches, conduct internal assessments and make sure that the partners you're using are doing things like pen tests or penetration tests to address weaknesses, provide cybersecurity training to employees and contractors to promote data security best practices, and partner with reputable AI providers and assess their security practices beforehand. Finally, the last consideration I'm going to talk about here is regulatory compliance. More and more pieces of legislation are popping up around Canada and across the world about AI. When we decided to use AI in fundraising work, it's important that I made sure our team stayed informed about relevant laws, regulations, and of course, ethical guidelines related to it. Since AI is really having its moment now, these regulations, legislation, and generally accepted ethical frameworks are likely to continue and grow in the years to come. So I say it again. Sourcing tools and working with partners that comply with legal and ethical frameworks ensures that your organization operates within the boundaries of the law and maintains the ethical standards that are important to you and to your community. So now's the fun part. Let's talk about a little bit about some of the tools that exist that could be enhancing your fundraising efforts. I hope that I've given a decent understanding of the benefits and some of the considerations of using AI in fundraising. ChatGPT. We have to start with ChatGPT, which is a tool that some of our staff at Keela love to use and have found an immense amount of value from. ChatGPT can be useful for a lot of things, but specifically creating custom donation appeals. You can ask it to write an emotional appeal, a motivating appeal, or anything else in between, based on what you think will resonate best with your donors. You can use it to draft social media posts for you by prompting with basic information about what you want to post about and providing the tone you want to use. You can use it to segment your donors. There are endless ways to segment your donors, and if you're not sure where to start, ask ChatGPT. It should have a better name, like Jeeves or something, but anyway. ChatGPT can help you with donor stewardship. You can prompt it to write thank you email templates, and then which you can then customize, hopefully using smart codes and other things in your CRM. You could even ask it to write a phone script if you're hosting a thankathon. One of the most obvious uses for ChatGPT is email templates. And actually, I think this is one area where it does a really good job of first drafts. Ask the questions, take a pass, and of course, makes edits before you send it out. You can also use ChatGPT for impact sharing by asking it to generate impact statements or even write an impact report that you can plug in metrics, images, and videos for. And last but not least, when you're stuck, and we're all stuck, you can ask it to generate new ideas. If you're trying to mix up your fundraising initiatives, ask ChatGPT to help you get those creative juices flowing. Now, at least as it stands right now for the basic version, ChatGPT does not have access to the internet or any external databases. It's built on older training data. It relies on knowledge and information that it's been trained on during the development of the technology. ChatGPT at its core is actually a language model trained on a very, very large data set, ranging from text in books, articles, websites, and other tools, until its last training update in September of 2021. Now, as they roll out ChatGPT Plus and they continue to update it, this might change, but please don't forget that. So when you ask a question, ChatGPT uses its understanding of language patterns and context from its training data to generate a response. You can't say, hey, ChatGPT, please search the internet for the weather today. It can't search for new information or browse the web for real-time answers, at least not yet. As a result, its responses are limited to the knowledge it has gained during its training, and it may not be aware of recent events or developments that occurred from its last update. This is why I stress it's a first draft tool. In case you hadn't used ChatGPT, I wanted to show you a couple of examples. I hope that's not too small, by the way. In this example, we asked ChatGPT to write a brief yet compelling major gift solicitation letter that featured some of the goals, accomplishments, and funding needs of an organization. As you can hopefully see here, what it has returned is a draft of that letter. And I used the term draft very intentionally, as I have in the slide previous and the slide previous again, because you need to customize it. You need to add your touch. You need to add your organization's touch, especially when writing important things like major gift letters, which need to be highly customized for every donor. As you can see in this next example, perfect. I asked it to give us 10 new fundraising I asked it to give us 10 new fundraising ideas for fundraisers to try in 2023. And that's exactly what it gave us. If you weren't satisfied with these, or you're looking for more, ask it to do another 10, and it will continue to give to them. And in this final example, I promise I'll stop talking about ChatGPT soon. We asked it to write social media posts for peer-to-peer fundraisers so they can post them on their social channels and encourage their network to give. ChatGPT can even put emojis for you. Ultimately, there are so many ways that this tool can be used by fundraisers. And right now, it's completely free. So give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. The next tool that can support your work that can and often is powered by AI is automation. Now, we don't think about automation always as AI, but it can be, and it often is. And I hope a lot of you are already using it. Automation can look like a few things. It can automate your gift acknowledgement and a tax receipt. So when someone makes a gift through your online donation page, and they receive an instant thank you email and tax receipt. This is automation saving a lot of time for your fundraising team and minimizing the administrative burden of gift giving. Next, AI-powered automation can also support with fraud detection. AI algorithms can be used to automate the detection and prevention of fraudulent activities in industries such as banking, insurance, and e-commerce. And yes, that means donation forms too. Machine learning models can analyze large volumes of data, identify patterns, and flag suspicious transactions or behaviors, helping to mitigate risks and improve securities, especially as we go into online giving season. And finally, automation can also help with your donor journeys. With automation, you can set up different communication journeys that you want to send your donors on based on how they are interacting with your organization, your newsletters, your donation forms, etc. Let's use an example. You could set up a welcome journey for each donor that is giving to you for the first time. Basically, you create a journey that after a new donor makes a gift, they receive a thank you email. Then 3 days later, they receive an email with more information about what you're doing, another thank you. Maybe they receive a story a week later. Maybe after that, you ask them to opt into the newsletter. I don't know, I'm just making this up, but you all know how to do this. Ultimately, this automation is something that you can set up and make sure your donors feel stewarded without doing too much manual work. We have a data point that automated welcome journeys have also been proven to increase donor retention by up to 13%. So they're definitely the juice here is definitely worth the squeeze. Let's talk about chatbots. We've all heard of chatbots. Some of us have probably been annoyed by them. Some of us have probably been empowered by them. But more and more organizations are using chatbots, which are valuable additions to their websites, almost acting as support teams for their organization and for their communities. Chatbots can be tailored for different pages on a website. For example, they can assist donors with online donations, encourage volunteers to sign up, and provide event promotion and program information. You can elevate your organization's online engagement with chatbots. Another form of AI that with chatbots, you can also set up different conversations and different talk threads. For example, if there's a technical issue, a chatbot can prompt you to call a support number. Or if you want to know more about a specific campaign, the chatbot can be trained on that specific campaign. And this is where it can be incredibly useful for things like peer-to-peer, to promote the events, to answer frequently asked questions, or even share updates about what's going on. Finally, and maybe most interestingly, you can equip your chatbots with information about programs and missions, so that anyone who comes to the your organization's or any organization's website will understand what the organization's doing, and they can share some of the impact being created for that prospective donor and prospective stakeholder. I think, as you can see on the screen, this is an example of an organization here in Canada that's using chatbot on their website. Kids Help Phone is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week e-mental health support service for youth, and they do incredible work. As you can see, they have a chatbot set up on their homepage to help their website visitors navigate their new website design. They can also use it to provide quick information about what to do if a youth in crisis lands on the page, and offer to talk to someone with an urgent help button so that folks who need it can access the service as best as they can, as quickly as they can. Finally, the last AI tool we're going to look at today is about prospect research and about prospect scoring and predictive analytics using natural language processing to understand prospect intent and even data mining and analysis. Whew, I know that might sound like a mouthful, but I'm here to give you a little bit of insight into that. What is prospect scoring and predictive analytics? AI algorithms can assess historical donor data and use predictive analytics to identify, for example, major gift prospects. By analyzing past giving patterns, wealth indicators, demographics data, this AI tool can assign a prospect score, including the likelihood and capacity for a significant donation. As I said before, this can help you prioritize your efforts. It doesn't tell you what to do, but it can help you prioritize with the hope of focusing on the most promising prospects. Natural language processing for even I have trouble with this one. Natural language processing for prospect research. These kinds of AI tools can analyze text from various sources, news articles, annual reports, social media posts, to extract valuable insights about potential donors. NLP, or natural language processing, can identify sentiment, tone, affiliations, and other relevant information by providing a deeper understanding of a prospect's interests, motivations, and possible connection. Again, this is only a guide, but it can do things because it sees so much data and solving very similar, the same problems that we as humans simply can't see. And last but not least, data mining and analysis. We've kind of touched on this, but AI can help you extract valuable insights from vast amounts of data, such as publicly available information, social media data, and even in the US, and less so in Canada, financial data. AI algorithms can help analyze this data to identify patterns, connections, and indicators of a prospect's capacity and inclination to give. There are, I think sometimes they're known as wealth screening tools that really focus on this, where they scrape the internet for all the pieces of data about a specific person. And when you buy these tools, they give you insight into their affiliations, their interests, their motivation, and even their wealth. Well, folks, I've been talking for about 40 minutes straight, and I could definitely use a glass of water, but I'm really excited about my favorite part of this presentation, which is the Q&A.
Perfect. Thanks, Ajid. We have lots of questions coming in, so let's get into them. If people are sitting there with questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A now, and we'll get to as many as we can. We have somebody who asked, thanks for covering AI and fundraising. Are there other operational areas where nonprofits can use AI, maybe outside of fundraising? And do you have any examples?
Yes, so I touched briefly on it with volunteer management. I think there's a real opportunity for us to understand the ability for AI to look at data communication, look at interest in volunteering, lapsed volunteers, a lot of the similar kind of stuff that we talked about with donors, with volunteers. The second area that I think there's opportunity is in accounting and other back office stuff. More and more AI tools are being developed to help, not on the fundraising side, but actually on the, the data analysis side, the accounting side, all of the administrative side of the organization. And I think, with the kids help phone example that I use, I think there's opportunities to use AI actually in programming itself. So, I don't think that they ever rolled this out, but you could try to see, levels of crisis where they use NLP to see the kind of language that folks are using in their text messaging about how urgently to escalate that to a live person, or whether there's potential intervention that can happen because of because of the kind of language someone's using. And that's an example of AI using that. So those are just some examples. I think what the reality is it's everywhere. Every piece of technology, from project management to task reminders to calendar bookings, these are all areas that we all work with every day in our tools and in our kind of work processes as folks in the sector that are going to be more and more AI powered.
Amazing. Okay, the next question is, you mentioned the concern of us choosing to put confidential data into tools like ChatGPT, but what about the ethical concerns surrounding how AI trained their models by using other people's data and works without their permission?
Great question. So I should be careful, but almost any tool worth its salt should be trained on anonymized data. And this is really, really, really important. And obviously I can speak to us at Keela, excuse me, because I think, you know, we treat privacy incredibly carefully. All of our models are built on anonymous data. We have a lot of data. We use publicly available anonymized data. And for us, this is really important. So protecting privacy, protecting donor confidentiality, ultimately protecting our fundraisers and their organizations is really important. The cool thing about these big models is they don't care about your name. What they care about is patterns. And so we strongly advise and adhere to making sure the tools that you're talking to, that you're considering, are built mostly on anonymous or publicly available thing. I think that's really important, because otherwise, not only does it feel kind of icky, but it might breach some privacy policies and privacy law ultimately.
Okay. The next question is, can you share what are the available AI softwares that can help to handle the prediction and analysis for small organizations?
Well, I'm going to really try not to be like the Keela CEO for a second, but I'm going to be the Keela CEO for a second. Keela is built around accessibility and empowering organizations. We have organizations that have as little as $25,000 and as big as $90, $100 million a year in annual donations. We pride ourselves on making ourselves available for organizations like you, maybe, that are smaller, that have less access to it, because we believe that great fundraising should happen for every organization regardless of size. And I think you look down the line, there are a number of pieces of software. Cherry and Koshi founded something called Nonprofit OS, which was a tool that powers some of ChatGPT's technology specifically for our sector. That just became part of iWave. That's accessibly priced, for example. And there are lots of tools that you can find. What I think is important to think about when budgeting is, one, there's a hierarchy of technology, right? You need your email marketing tool, you need your CRM, you need your kind of core stuff at the top, donation pages, maybe, if that's not included in your CRM. This is not accounting, the stuff that you cannot live without. Let's not pretend that this AI stuff is in that top category. It's one below. It can add a ton of value. It can create more abundance, less stress, more opportunity. But to me, as the CEO of a company built for organizations of all sizes and especially smaller ones, we've led this AI charge in the sector for many years, and we've done it with the smaller organizations at our core and in our hearts. And I think that's really important.
Great. Somebody asked this question about automation, kind of while we're on the topic of Keela, and what tools can they use to automate a donor journey, like in the example that you gave? Or are there, I know we could talk about Keela all day. Are there free options available as well?
I don't know. Keela is pretty cheap, so I think I would start there. And we have the best, and I will say this publicly, the best automation tool in the sector. Even the largest organizations that look at us, we have that, and it's really accessibly priced. But I think MailChimp has some automation in it. I don't know if it's free or not, but I think that's another one. And tools like Asana or Monday.com might have some task automation, but not kind of that comprehensive donor automation that I was talking about. I think we have to all be thinking about priority of budget, like I mentioned before, and investing in a tool that's going to make you as a fundraiser be able to raise much more money. If it costs a few $1,000s a year, that's not a big deal when the value and abundance it creates is obviously so great. And if it can be combined with your CRM and your donor management tool and your donation pages, it doesn't feel like such an expense. It sort of feels like it's just there. But I'm a strong proponent of automation in the sector.
Yeah, I used to be a fundraiser, and when I think about the way that these tools have evolved, even from the time where I was sending emails, like the ability to have something automated that welcomes every donor that's a new donor is 100%. Incredible.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
I remember when I started. Sorry, go ahead, Mary. Pardon me.
I was gonna say, sometimes you can program it to, acknowledge their birthdays, acknowledge all these kinds of things that are really cool, and things that you can just set up so that you don't have to worry every time, okay, it's this person's birthday, I have to send them an email. This person just made a donation, I need to make sure they fill up. Automation is really kind of where things are going.
Well, when I started in the sector, we didn't even have automated, this is 20-something years ago. Firstly, we barely had donation forms online. Yeah. And secondly, we definitely didn't have automated tax receipting. And as a lawyer, obviously, I think it's really important to make sure we get our receipting right, so the CRA doesn't come and risk our status and whatever. Having that not only be able to be done for you, but done for you automatically and emailed to the donor is quite remarkable. And yeah, so that's exciting for me. And I know Meredith and I have spent long time in the sector, and we've watched and studied and been students of all this change.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got another question here. You recommended ChatGPT. With that tool, there is a concern of
I sort of recommended ChatGPT.
We
we talked about ChatGPT, yes.
We talked about ChatGPT. But there is a concern of false information, and it's been shown that you can trick it into giving answers with wrong information, which I think is kind of a concern around AI in general, is how much can you rely on kind of what it's giving to you? How can these kinds of things be avoided?
Choose what you use it for. I know that sounds like a stupid answer, and I promise my kids are punks. I'm not being like them and being a punk, but I think we have to be really, it is not a silver bullet. I gave a talk at the fundraising.ai summit this week where I basically spent, I don't know, 10%, 20% of the time I was given on stage to talk about how if people are characterizing AI in our sector, really any sector, but our sector especially, as a silver bullet, they're lying to you. So it's not a silver bullet. It can't do everything for you. But if you're asking for fundraising ideas, for example, if it gives you false information, who cares? You just say, that's a stupid idea. You don't have to say that to ChatGPT. You don't need to be rude. But in your head, you can think that. If you're asking for it to create a social media post, you can be like, I like that one. I'm going to change this, and this. To me, it's not like, don't ask it if you have strep throat because it is probably, it's not a doctor, right? And there was a, that being said, it's passed the bar exam, it's passed the medical licensing exam, so often it's going to be right. But to me, for us in this sector, it's about using it in a way that's going to empower our fundraisers to work more effectively, not be that silver bullet. I never, ever want it to be a silver bullet. And I don't want it to be. I want my fundraisers working to do their jobs. I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel like this is a tool in their tool belt. And I believe it is.
Fundraising is a human game, and it will always be a human game, and it should be. Okay, can you, do you have any examples of how you can use AI to identify potential corporate sponsors?
No, I don't, to be honest. I would say, except for one thing, if you've had corporate donors in the past, you might be able to use your AI tool to say, these are opportunities or these are other corporations with similar profiles or whatever it might be in your system. But new, not random, but like, external third party, never engaged, no. That all being said, there's lots of corporate donor databases, and we at Keela have integrated into a tool called Double the Donation. I love Double the Donation because there are a lot of folks that work at bigger companies that have gift matching, and Double the Donation, I don't get anything for saying this, I'm just saying it's a great tool. They let folks add that right to their donation page so the company can match a donation or match part of a donation. And I assume, and I have no idea, that over time, Double the Donation is going to build more and more of this kind of technology into their tools. I think some of the wealth screening tools like iWave and Wealth Engine and donor search and all these kinds of things might have some of the corporate stuff with AI as well.
Okay. How can AI help with determining ask amounts for annual giving and major giving donors? Are there tools that factor in things like net worth, total giving, experience scores, etc.?
I mean, I know I'm talking about Keela, but I'm going to talk about Keela. Keela is an example of a tool that does that. We have likelihood to give, capacity to give, range of ask, smart ask, I think it's called. And then I'm going to go back to those other wealth screening tools. So it's a little harder in Canada. Thankfully, our privacy law is stronger. It's more robust. So financial data is less available. In the US, it's creepy how much information you can get on somebody. Like you have their address and you can know their credit score. It's wild. But in Canada, we have more protections. The other thing is demographic data has historically been quite powerful. In Canada, in Keela, we have demographics data as part of our tools. So if Meredith has an address and she made a donation, you can look at her neighborhood, her average income in her neighborhood, the average, whether it's a rent or own in her neighborhood, the average salaries in her neighborhood. And from that and a bunch of other data points, you can maybe, get an understanding of that donor's potential capacity to give. And again, always gut check it, always think about it, always filter and sort accordingly. Like people who have not made a donation in the last 3 months, there's lots of ways that you need to add your own fundraising experience and brain to this. But tools like Keela, demographics data, and then especially for US folks, some of this wealth data is really valuable.
Amazing. So we have somebody that wants to use AI with grant writing. Do you have any recommendations on how they could do that?
Good question. I mean, first draft stuff would be my instinct. It's a visceral response. You say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm working on a grant for a nonprofit. They're asking this question. How would you respond if we do X, Y, and Z? I think prompt engineering for these tools like ChatGPT becomes really important. How you position the question, what you say, what tone you ask ChatGPT to write with, all of that kind of stuff is going to help you in grant writing. The problem with that answer is that grant writing is often very specific. It's asking a very specific question about something very specific to your organization. Maybe you could ask it to rewrite. Sometimes there's a rewrite function where you write the first draft and you say, hey, ChatGPT, can you take this and make the tone different? And then it'll be your writing that they spit out. But again, be careful of confidential information, privacy, all of that when you do these kinds of things.
I don't say you can, and I know sometimes when you're applying for grants, there's kind of specific formats and things that you need to follow, but some of them do allow for a little bit more freedom in terms of what you submit. And you can ask it for suggestions for layouts, how to effectively write a grant proposal, and those things, and kind of build on it and work and change it as you go. Is AI typically some plugin or module that you integrate into your master membership system or CRM?
We both. So you got tools like Fundraising Kit and Dataro that are plugins. They can plug into your CRM or your, I don't know about membership as much, but I can tell you about fundraising and donor management tools, absolutely. You also have tools like Keela that have things built in already. Like we have a series of this AI and wealth screening tools, some of which have AI, like iWave and Wealth Engine and Donor Search. Their plugins are plug into, and then you use their interfaces. So you have a mix of both. I know, Keela is one of the leader where it's already built in, and we're really passionate about making it accessible and making it useful and making the user interface aligned with what donor management you're already doing. But there are some great plugins. Yeah, like I said, Dataro, Fundraising Kit, some of those wealth tools would be where I would think about.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about the risks earlier. I love this question, but we have somebody asking, what are the don'ts for using AI? Do you see any patterns where nonprofits are using AI ineffectively or in a way that exposes them to more risk?
Well, privacy would be my first answer. And I don't want to sound like a lawyer, but I am one, so I'm going to lean on that. Privacy, privacy, privacy. Don't dump your donor database into a ChatGPT. Be very careful. Be selective. So that's one. Two, don't assume it's a silver bullet. Don't rely 100% on it. Don't click send without reading it and reading it again and reading it again. Don't stop relying on your fundraising instincts. They're what got you where you are. They've what's raised the majority of the money in your donor database. I think that's a big don't. And don't get lazy. Don't let these tools take away from the relationships you want to be building, the face-to-face, the meetings, the phone calls, the personal touches, because we as fundraisers, I worked in fundraising before, we're tired, we're stressed out, we're overburdened, we want the help we can get, and I totally get that. And that's why we work so hard at Keela and with fundraising.ai to make sure that we're getting the tools to support us, but don't get lazy on that, because fundraising is a human game. And and the minute we stop assuming that and we stop, taking that to heart, we're going to be in trouble.
Okay. We have another question. I think we have time for maybe one or two more, but how can AI help with donor compliance reporting when we have the data to be reported in Word or in spreadsheets from our partner organization? She's looking for an option to take a lot of the legwork out of that integration of different data reporting formats into one report.
Ooh. So missing data would be my first one, right? It can help you say it's anomaly detection, it's missing data, it's things that, formats are inconsistent, things where, because remember, artificial intelligence, especially machine learning, is about pattern recognition, right? So if it's like this is how something should look, and it can and trained to be able to recognize that. And when it looks different, for example in Keela's deduplication tool, it's like, this doesn't feel right. Over time we're going to be adding more and more AI to that tool to ensure that we're saying, hey, this isn't working. And for you, in asking this question, you're going to have to report on some data. Well, as we add more and more of the AI to things like deduping and data cleanup tools, to me, that would be a really good place to start. I would say find an intern. It's better than AI, but anyway, that's a different conversation.
Okay, so I see a lot of people asking about prompts for ChatGPT. If you actually go to the link that Charity Village has put in the chat there, we have a whole downloadable cheat sheet that includes all these prompts for ChatGPT for different areas of fundraising. So feel free to go check that out. I think we have time for one more, Najid, and then I'm going to throw it back to Mercedes. But obviously, editing outputs on tools like ChatGPT is important. As you mentioned, it's really a first draft. But what would you say the line is for using their words or how much to change? When do you need to be concerned about things like plagiarism with AI tools?
It's a good question, and I don't think we have a good answer yet, to be really blunt. What I would say is, I don't think it's plagiarizing, because I don't know, I haven't read the IP license on ChatGPT, but if they're spitting it out, you can probably use it, is my assumption. Now, what I wouldn't say is like, write my whole website and just copy and paste it there. I think firstly, it'll be a crappy website. And secondly, I think that's probably, it feels like it's crossing a line. I think we're trying to learn as a society, and I don't mean we at Keela or we in this conversation, I mean we as a society, what does it mean for IP with things like generative AI or artificial intelligence? I think there was a song created that sounded like two famous artists, and it was not them. It was just created by AI, and it was actually nominated for a Grammy, and it was disqualified. And these are the conversations we're having now as a society. It's the next 5 years are going to be formative to understanding our relationship with them. So I don't know if that I answered that question by giving you a line, but I think like, trust your instincts. And I like to rewrite stuff. I think for me, first draft takes 4 hours, second draft takes 40 minutes. I'd let it do the first draft and you do the 40 minutes. That's the way that I would approach it. That being said, some of it's good, and just use it then. I think I don't think anyone's gonna, it's not like it's posted on the internet, right? It's a software tool. It's like so it's not plagiarism in the traditional way. I think we're gonna actually see this in schools with kids at university and what they're doing and how they're using it. And these debates are, they're happening, and it's exciting. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah, I even saw something on LinkedIn the other day that was like people talking about how you prevent university students from using AI to write things like essays. And there was somebody there saying you can't anymore. The reality is you can't. So we need to change.
I read an op-ed from a professor who said, use ChatGPT. But what I found is ChatGPT gives you a C+, B-. If you really want to cross that threshold, you got to do the work. So again, it's super fascinating. I think, Meredith, your point is really well taken. And I'm excited to be a student of all this in the decades to come. Yeah,
for sure. It's a really exciting time. And based on how many people are here and engaging, it seems like the sector is excited about it too. So I'm going to hand it back to Mercedes to close it out.
Amazing. Thank you so much for presenting such an informative webinar. Do you have any final comments before we sign off today?
Nope. Just thanks, folks. Happy fundraising season. Good luck in the next few months. I'll be rooting for all of you, and I'll definitely take my credit card out and be making lots of donations. But I know y'all are stressed. Take time for yourselves. Breathe. Drink lots of coffee. And I'm confident that Canada is a generous people, and we're going to have a really good end of the next couple of months.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Najid. I just wanted to remind everyone that you will receive a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to the webinar recording. Please feel free to share this link with your colleagues. The email will also include a survey link that you can fill out with your feedback on today's webinar. You should see a survey link pop up right here in Zoom following the session as well. On behalf of Charity Village, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you'll join us for our next free webinar, Getting Your Not-for-Profit Organization's Financial Operations Ready for 2024. You can find more information on this and all of our upcoming webinars at charityvillage.com/webinars. Thanks again for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your day.